defendants for crimes against humanity continued in Baghdad on Monday, with prosecutors presenting their closing arguments. In this 45-minute portion, you'll hear from the chief prosecutor. Our coverage is courtesy of Al Arakia Television.
The prosecution would like to start its closing remarks by addressing a few issues that have been brought up during the trial in front of this honorable court, and as a rebuttal to the defense team and their clients during previous sessions in relation to the immunity of the defendants and the principle of non-retroactive laws. Iraq is a signatory to most international treaties related to international crimes, besides the fact that international crimes are part of the international law, which has the power of a binding rule and which is implemented through internal legal statutes, regardless of whether they are textually included within a national law, because of the universal knowledge of the crimes contemplated by these texts, and within the international system to prosecute those who commit those crimes which hurt the feelings of humanity as a whole. This kind of crimes has been excluded from the general principle of prescription by time of crimes or sentences according to the 1968 treaty related to the non-prescription of war crimes or crimes against humanity. In addition to the non-viability of the immunity claims, whether procedural immunity or immunity against prosecution, that would protect those who commit such crimes from being put to trial. And here we recall trials such as the Nuremberg court, in which these claims were put forth in defense of the accused, and to which the answer was that the mere fact that those officials put in place rules of immunity to protect themselves from being prosecuted by international law was, in fact, an additional proof that they indeed knew the illegality of their actions according to the international law. And I should not forget to mention Article 15 of the International Treaty regarding civil and political rights, which stipulates that national laws shall not cover or include matters and acts of international crimes, and Iraq has signed up and joined the treaty. And now I ask permission from the Honorable Court to read the final statement. In the name of God, God Almighty, with the powers Thy invested me with, I shall never stand by the criminals. Word of God Almighty. Honorable members and President of the Court, peace be upon you. It is said in the old oral tradition that when the people endured stormy and windy nights, they called it a dark night. And this darkness has been experienced by the people of Dujil, who had an encounter with those gale forces storms which turned their days into nights, and they would be entitled to ascribe their days as dark days from the horror of what hit them in terms of aggression and bloodshed. The aggression, which was already ongoing, reached an unprecedented level when the defendant Saddam Hussein visited their town on July 8, 1982. And what came after that visit in terms of persecution, exodus and executions, destruction, bulldozing, and a slew of other barbaric and savage actions. On that day, his convoy drove into that town, and when the convoy was heading out of the town through the main road, and as it approached the Ibrahimi school, it coincided with shooting of firearms in the close-by fields. It has been claimed that they were an assassination attempt. And after reviewing the security reports and the drawings of the incident and the various testimonies of the defendant Saddam Hussein and other defendants and testimonies of witnesses, depositions of other civil parties, and even some of the defense witnesses, it has been established that there were shootings of a few shots, no more than 15, between 8 and 15, from one or possibly two Kalashnikov rifles from one of the orchards adjacent to the main road, and which was fenced with a 2-meter clay fence approximately. And it has not been established that any other weapon, heavy or otherwise, was used, given that an assassination attempt against no less than the head of state would have had resources, and there would have been solid basis to support such an act. Otherwise, it would be considered suicidal. Let's consider, for the sake of argument, that it was an assassination attempt. Was the reaction to it legal? Was the retaliation equivalent to the alleged attempt? If we looked closely to the actions undertaken after the alleged attempt, we would notice that they were wide-scale military operations carried out by the army, the intelligence services, the security services, the popular army, and the police. And it was not by any means equivalent to the alleged incident. The logical sequence of events would say that after such an incident, there should have been an investigation, a fundamental investigation, one that would clarify the events and complexities of the incident, especially as it was an incident involving the head of state. However, what happened was totally the opposite. Since what happened after that had been proven to be of a high degree of roughness and cruelty, and after Saddam Hussein reached Baghdad, he got on the phone with a number of security officials and informed them that there has been an assassination attempt on his life during his visit to Dujayl. And he asked them to meet at the National Council headquarters the same day. The meeting was attended by defendant Mr. Taha Yassin Ramadan, Vice President of the Cabinet at the time, who has been commissioned by Saddam to preside over the meeting. Also present was Fadl al-Barrak, head of General Security, and Muhammad Aliwi, the head of the Office of General Intelligence, and a number of officials. Mr. Taha Yassin Ramadan declared himself on the record on February 9th, 2005, in front of the investigative team of 3 judges and in presence of the chief prosecutor and the defendant's lawyer. He said, I quote, "I was contacted by Saddam Hussein on the phone, who was then president of the Republic, and he informed me that he got attacked in the town of Dujayl. And he asked me to go meet with the security officials whom he ordered to be present at the National Council headquarters." And indeed, I went there and I found Mr. Fadl al-Barak, who was head of security and who was himself executed later on for other reasons. I also found someone else whose name I don't recall and who informed me that he represented the head of intelligence services, and he informed me that the head of intelligence services has gone to meet with Saddam Hussein. And there were also 2 or 3 people whom I don't recall. During that meeting, a plan of action has been debated and agreed upon, a comprehensive security plan concerning the situation of Dujayl. At the same time, the defendant Barazan met with defendant Saddam at Radwaniyah, and the latter commissioned him to conduct the operations in Dujayl. When Barazan got to Dujayl, he used the local party headquarters as a base for the military operations. Immediately, the Popular Army, the Presidential Guard, the security and intelligence organs also proceeded to besieging the whole region of Dujayl. Helicopters started bombing the orchards at random, resulting in a number of casualties of the civilians who were tending to their fields. The number of people who later were detained reached into the hundreds. All that happened by order of the defendant Barazan al-Takriti, who stayed in the region for 3 consecutive days before leaving for Baghdad, while the army and the security and intelligence services continued arresting other families and transferring them to the intelligence headquarters in Baghdad. And a number of defendants have acknowledged this humanitarian tragedy that took place in Dujayl. Among them, defendant Abdullah Kazim Ruwaid, defendant Mizhar Abdullah Kazim, defendant Ali Dayesh, and Muhammad al-Azzawi, when their depositions were being taken in presence of the investigative judge. In addition to the depositions of the civil parties and the depositions of witnesses, and in addition to all the documents that have been deemed genuine by forensic experts and which have been presented to this court. When those cohorts of detainees reached the intelligence service headquarters, they were interrogated, they were cruelly tortured, resulting in the death of 46 detainees among them, who have been named in the indictment, in addition to a number of deaths also under cruel torture. The number of deaths has been established in the document issued by the intelligence services, document number M7C1/560, dated February 3rd, 1987. In the same document, there was mention of a committee formed by heads of 5 intelligence subsections under the chairmanship of Saad Radi and the membership of Salah Khalaf, the head of security of Mawqif, Samar Muhammad, the head of administrative section, and Jassim Hammadi, investigation official in the intelligence service, and Muhammad Abdel Hussein, also a security official. This document states in paragraph 3, and I quote, "A decision has been made to defer 148 people to the Revolutionary Court, and they have been sentenced to death, and the sentence has been approved, and among those sentenced to death, 46 have already been killed or died under interrogation." End quote. This was the text, and the text appears as I read it in the cited document. After that, and following up on the story of the detainees, they have been transferred to the prison of Abu Ghraib in the section of the intelligence services, where they stayed for more than 6 months, during which they were tortured, both physically and psychologically. After which the intelligence personnel transferred the women and the children and the elderly, who totaled 399 people, to the Layal camp in the desert of Muthanna, next to the border with Saudi Arabia, without any legal grounds for such an action. And they remained there until April 1986, as mentioned in the intelligence document number 1106, dated May the 8th, 1983, and document 1147, dated on May 14th, 1983, both directed to the head of the Al-Muthanna sector, requesting the implementation of the detention order of the 399 people, all women, children, and elderly, while those who survived have been referred to the Revolutionary Court according to the referral order number 6216, dated on May 27, 1984, and signed by the defendant Saddam Hussein. After that, the Revolutionary Court, presided by defendant Awad Kamel al-Bandar, issued its order number 944, dated June 14, 1984, sentencing all those referred to it to the death penalty by hanging, and their number was 148 people. And what is surprising here is the fact that the Revolutionary Court, as soon as it received the referral order, issued its sentence against the 148 people and ordered their execution and the confiscation of all their estate, without the court ever being held or the presence of any lawyers. And 2 days after the sentence was issued, the defendant Saddam Hussein issued a Republican decree number 778, dated June 16, 1984, endorsing the death penalty against all of the 148 victims, and the sentence was carried out against the victims on March 23rd, 1985, according to the memorandum from the Prison Directorate number 1280, dated on March 23, 1985. According to the documents presented to this honorable court and the depositions of the civil parties, it has been established that the victims that have been sentenced to death never attended the courthouse, and that some of them have been killed during the interrogation, and their names have been referred to the court and were sentenced to death. This tragic episode did not end at that point. The services, and by order of defendant Taha Yassin Ramadan, proceeded to demolish the homes of the victims, loot their contents, bulldoze their fields and orchards, and force the inhabitants of the region to live in deep poverty by denying them the main source of their life. These events have been proven by the individual plaintiffs and by some of the witnesses that appeared in this court, and stated that defendant Taha Yassin Ramadan was standing on a hill in the region called the Maskeen Hill. These events have also been confirmed by defendant Muhammad Azawi, defendant Mizhar Abdullah Kazim, in their depositions in presence of the investigation judge. The latest of these proofs was the phone call that the court has listened to between Saddam Hussein and defendant Taha Yassin Ramadan, which was about bulldozing the orchards in Dujayl. As to defendant Saddam Hussein, who was at the time President of the Republic and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Proofs of his implication: number one, the video and audio recording that was presented to the court, and that shows Saddam Hussein addressing the people of Dujayl the day of the incident, and shows him saying that those who ambushed his convoy might have been 2 or 3, and in any case no more than 10. Second, what he said in his deposition in presence of the investigative team of 3 judges on June 12, 2005, and I quote, "My convoy was ambushed, maybe with 2 rifles, although I'm not sure after all this time has passed." End quote. He also said in his deposition, I quote, "As far as I know, no one was hurt in the ambush." End quote. Third, after he got to Baghdad from Dujayl, he gave orders to the security officials who deal directly with him to report to the National Council headquarters, and he ordered Taha Yassin Ramadan to preside over the meeting to plan for the attack of Dujayl. Fourth, he ordered defendant Barzan Ibrahim to conduct the operations in Dujayl. Fifth, official documents that give proof of his knowledge and transmit his orders of the crime of Dujjail. I have to explain here that I am going to cite these documents, these official documents that give proof of his knowledge and his transmission of orders to the crime of Dujjail. Number one, the report from Barzan, dated July 13th, 1982. Number two, the Revolutionary Council's decision, number 982, dated July 31st, 1982, which incriminated a group of intelligence agents for their role in Dujjail. Number three, the Revolutionary Council's decision number 100 on January 23rd, 1985, about transfer of ownership of properties in Dujjail. Number four, the report issued by the committee chaired by Hassin Kamel regarding the Dujjail affair, and which shows footnotes and remarks added by Saddam Hussein himself directly. Number five, the memorandum issued by the Legal Affairs section of the Presidential Office, dated on July 28, 1987, regarding the execution by mistake of 4 people of the Dujjail case and reporting them as killed while being arrested. Number 6, the memorandum from the Legal Affairs section of the Presidential Office, dated on April 5th, 1987, regarding the non-execution of 2 of the people who were named in the sentence by the Revolutionary Court. Number 7, the Republican Decree 778, dated on June 16th, 1984, which endorses the death penalty sentence. Number 8, the video and audio recording shown to this court, in which the defendant says that he doesn't care about those who die during interrogation, no matter how many they are. Number 9, his confession in front of this court that he was responsible of the investigation, when he said that if he gave his orders for no one to prosecute anyone, then no one would have been prosecuted. Number 6, his order to compensate the owners of those orchards which have been bulldozed, knowing that the bulldozing was not with the intent of modernizing the town's infrastructure, but it was rather a retaliation, as he admitted in front of this honorable court when he said that he razed the orchards because of the assassination attempt against him. So, uprooting trees and bulldozing fields is an attempt against the national wealth, and the compensation for the destruction is mishandling and mismanagement of the national monies. In order to prove to the court that we don't speak in vain, we have a few excerpts of the deposition of the defendant during previous sessions we would like the court to watch. is the President of the Republic. He makes a phone call and says no one is to be persecuted, and then no one would ever be persecuted. The president had it in his hand not to carry out the death penalty on everyone, but two of them have been given mercy and were not executed.
And to release them.
The orchards that you're worrying so much about, the Iraqi judicial system should not really worry about that. If the state, any state, decides to use any land for national interest, the state can do it. If, Your Honor, you're looking for things, and in your hands you have the subject in your hand, and you let it go. The demolition of the orchards in Dugel, why are you seeking to make Barazan guilty of it? I am here. It's me. Why don't you come to me? There's no need for you to indict anyone else. I raised the orchards. Doesn't mean that I drove the bulldozer. I gave the order for it to be done. And I delimited the exact orchards and fields that have had to be raised. I signed those orders. If you want to indict them with the crime, then indict me. Number 7, he failed to issue any orders regarding all the violations committed against women, children, and seniors detained after the Dugel incident, even though he was aware of such violations. Number 8, the audio recording of the phone conversation with defendant Taha Yassin Ramadan about the Dugel affair, and which has been presented to the court. Number 9, the audio recording of Saddam Hussein addressing the people of Jubur, and in which he explains what happened to the people of Shumeta, knowing that Shumeta is the old name of the town of Dugel. Number 10, his leadership liability. His political liability toward the security services which were directly linked to him, and according to the principle of liability of the highest official stipulated by paragraph 4, article 15 of the court's statutes, is considered responsible for crimes committed by those individuals who respond to him. And since the accused was aware of the crimes committed by his subordinates, or better to say, in compliance to his orders as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, And since the sectors of the army that conducted the operations in Dujil can only do that by order of the commander-in-chief. In addition to that, there are a lot of documents and correspondence that has been presented to your honorable court that prove beyond any doubt his knowledge of the crimes committed, such as the referral documents that concerned those whom the defendant considered the accused in that affair to the Revolutionary Court, according to the referral document number 672, dated May 27, 1984, and his endorsing of the court's decision to execute the accused according to the Republican decree, and among other documents that prove the liability of the defendant is the document issued by the intelligence service and addressed to the presidency. Document number 1169, dated September 12, 1984, which states that various officials and party instances are requesting information about the victims of the Dujil case, and also the decision of the Revolutionary Committee number 1283 of October 14, 1982, which includes the confiscation of the lands in Dujil that used to belong to the victims and without compensation. For all of this, the accused stands guilty of all the crimes committed by his subordinates, who worked under his direct orders, according to paragraph 4, article 15 of the court's statutes. Honorable Judge, a crime against humanity, as described by Article 12 of the court's statutes, is a large-scale aggression, methodic or organized, against any group of civilians since it has been established that various groups have been affected by this crime, so that this crime can be described as a crime against humanity. As to Article 15, paragraph 2c stipulates that a person is considered liable according to this law in case of assistance or incitement, any or any other ways of helping the commission of a crime or the beginning of the commission of a crime, including by providing the means for the crime. Therefore, all the defendants are considered guilty at the first degree, except for defendant Muhammad Azzawi, whom we request, for lack of evidence, that all charges against him be dropped and he be freed according to Article 182C fundamental. As for defendants Abdullah Kazim Ruwaid and Mizhar Abdullah Kazim and Ali Daich, we request their indictment according to Article 12(1), A, E, and F, and according to Article 15, paragraph C, and we ask for their sentence to be defined by Articles 406/1A and 421 and 413 of the criminal law, and we, the prosecution, ask the court to reduce the sentence against them since they committed those actions obeying direct orders from superiors according to Article 15, Paragraph 5 of the court's statutes. As for defendant Awad Muhammad al-Bandar, his actions have been found supportive of the crimes of the accused in the Dujayl affair and was found to be accessory to homicide according to paragraph 1D second of Article 15 of the court's statutes. Therefore, we seek him to be declared guilty according to Article 12(1)(a) of the Iraqi High Criminal Court, and his sentence to be determined according to Article 406/1A and according to Article 24 of the Iraqi High Criminal Court. As for defendants Saddam Hussein, Al-Majid, Barazan Takriti, Ibrahim, and Taha Yassin Ramadan, we consider them guilty of all the crimes committed against the people of Dujayl. Therefore, we request their indictment according to Articles 12(1)(a), E, F, and K, and according to Article 15 of the Iraqi High Criminal Court, and for the sentence to be pronounced according to Article 406/1A and 421 and 413 of the law, and according to Article 24 of the court's statutes. Therefore, the prosecution requests from the court the issuance of the harshest sentence against the defendants who destroyed the land and who had no mercy for an old man or a young child or a woman and not even a tree. And since, according to Article 406(1)(a), the maximum sentence is the death penalty, that is the article that the prosecution is striving to see implemented. As for the defense counselors, July 10th, you present your conclusions. We will give you the opportunity then, but not now. We're not having any debates right now. We're not going into any debates right now. July 10th, you have all the time to get ready, to prepare. You know this. This is how trial goes. The session is adjourned.
On June 21st, 2 days after prosecutors presented their closing arguments, one of Saddam Hussein's attorneys was abducted from his Baghdad home and later found dead. The defense is scheduled to present its final arguments Monday, July 10th. After that, a panel of judges will meet to decide the verdicts. If convicted, Saddam Hussein could face the death penalty by hanging.